I'm going to start off by taking 2 flash tattoos and sticking them down in the middle of my chest, and then taking a paper towel soaked in warm water and pressing it down over the top until it becomes slippery, and then pulling the backs off. Then I'm taking this primer that I got at Walgreens and putting it all over my face. This is a smoothing primer. It smooths your pores. Then I'm taking the Maybelline Master Prime in Blur and Illuminate and the ColourPop No Filter concealers and priming my eyelids. I'm using the white one on the top part so the colors look more vibrant, and the skin tone one on my eyelids. Then I'm taking my Real Techniques blending sponge. I soaked it in water first, and I'm blending out the eyeshadow base until it's all smoothly blended. And then I'm setting it in place with the Maybelline Fit Me Loose powder in shade number 2 with the Tarte Cosmetics brush. Then I'm going to take some of my concealer that's left over on there and some of the ColourPop No Filter foundation and put it in the center of my eyebrows, where I'm going to place another flash tattoo. This one right here. I'm going to stick that down and apply those the same way that I applied the ones on my chest. And then with a little bit of eyelash glue, I'm going to put down the edges where it wouldn't adhere because of the foundation underneath. Then I'm going to take a NYX Teal Liquid Lipstick and a fluffy blending brush and put that on the back of my hand and pick it up with a brush. And then apply it directly into the crease of my eye and blend it out until all the edges are smooth. I'm only using a little bit of product because it's really pigmented. And then taking the NYX Ultimates palette with the light green and yellow shade and a fluffy brush, tapping off the excess, I'm going to apply that right over top of where I put the eyeshadow base, blending it up toward the brow bone. Using small circular motions and a Wet n Wild blending brush. Just going back and forth with the brush into the NYX palette and building up the color until it's the intensity that I like. And then taking a pressed powder onto the same blending brush, I'm just going to blur the edges so that it's nice and seamless. Then once it's completely blended out, I'm going to pick up this forest green MAC eyeshadow in a Smashbox dual-ended brush. And with the fluffy end, I'm going to pick that eyeshadow up and put it right into the crease lower than where we placed that other shadow, focusing it on the outer third of the eye, slowly bringing it in toward the inner corner. Also using circular motions with my brush to make sure that there's no harsh lines between the two colors. Then I'm going back to the yellow shade in the NYX palette and doing the same thing as before and just blurring the edges so that we have a nice smooth transition from the yellow color to the skin color underneath our eyebrow. I'm also taking that yellow shade and placing it heavily in the inner corner of the eye and blending it up toward the front of my eyebrow to add extra dimension. Then taking the Jaclyn Hill palette from Morphe brushes, I'm going to pick up the dark green shade here and place that even lower than the MAC shadow on the outer corner of my eye to add depth. Once that shadow is placed on the outer third, I'm going to take the teal shade and press it into the brush on the back of my hand so I don't have too much pigment, and I'm going to use that to blend out the really, really deep shade on the outer half of the eye. Going back in with that MAC shade and just building up the transition from the dark Morphe shade to the MAC shade to the NYX lighter shades. Just really going back and forth and blending so that we have a nice seamless edge. I'm also using the green shade from the NYX palette to do the same thing. Again, this look is just all about blending and going back and forth from the darker shades, transitioning up to the lighter shades. Then grabbing the dark green on my finger to build up the intensity, I'm just going to pack it right there on the outermost part of my eye. Then taking the white No Filter concealer from ColourPop, I'm going to place it on the lid of my eye to do a cut crease, but I'm only doing a half cut crease. Taking the product on the brush as well, I'm going to do that to sharpen the edges of the cut crease, bringing it only halfway across my eyelid. Just making sure the edges are nice and clean and taking your time. And then I'm taking that blending brush and just blending the dark green shadow on the edge into where the white concealer ends. And just picking up more of that Morphe shadow and bringing the intensity back that was blended away when I was done making my cut crease with the concealer. Just bringing more yellow back to the outer corner from the NYX palette, and again, just blending out the edges. Now I'm going to wet my brush with some water and pick up the lightest shade in the top corner of the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette, mixing it slightly with the shade next to it, and placing that on the inner corner of my eye, right over top of the concealer. Then placing the gold shade right in the center to connect between the dark green shade on the outer corner and the light shade we just placed on the inner corner. The wetness in the brush will make it more intense. Then I'm taking a dual fiber brush and just brushing away any fallout. Mixing together the two dark shades and the teal shade, blending out the crease, and then adding this shimmery forest green shade to the outermost corner, right between where the gold meets the dark matte green shade. Then I'm going to take the ColourPop No Filter Concealer and mix it together with L'Oreal True Match in shade W2. And I'm going to dot that all over my face using my fingers once it's mixed together. Then taking a flat-topped cosmetics brush, I'm going to pounce and push the foundation into my skin, getting the most coverage out of the foundation, and just blending it out until it's all smooth and my whole face is covered. And then to get any excess product off my face, I'm going to take that wet sponge and go over everything. Mixing together the ColourPop No Filter Concealer and the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer, I'm going to place that underneath my eyes, down the center of my nose, on the tip of my nose, the center of my chin, and then underneath where I'm going to be placing my contour later to bring lightness and highlight to the face. Then once that's dried down for a second for extra coverage, I'm going to go ahead and take my wet Real Technique sponge again and blend that out, pressing it into the skin, not wiping. And all of the products that I use in this video will be listed in the description box below, along with all the brushes and the shade names. Then I'm going to take my Maybelline Fit Me Loose powder and I'm going to press it in underneath my eyes to set it using the same wet sponge. And then I'm going to dust away any excess and set the rest of my face using the same Tarte Cosmetics brush that I used earlier. Then I'm taking this Wet n Wild bronzer and a Lancôme contouring brush. I'm going to pick up product and tap off all the excess. I'm going to place that on the hollows of my cheeks, blending it downward. And then also underneath my chin and along my jawline. Also blending down the neck. Then I'm going to take this lighter e.l.f. bronzer from this quad, and I'm just going to use that to blend out the edges into where the highlight underneath my eyes is from the translucent powder, so there isn't a harsh line. Then taking this brush and this palette that I got at TJ Maxx, I'm going to use this peachy blush color and put that right on the apples of my cheeks. Then taking this fluffy blending brush that's shaped like a mermaid, I'm going to pick up that same light bronzer and place it right on the sides of the bridge of my nose to do a little bit of light nose contouring, and also right underneath the tip of my nose to shorten it in photos. Filter concealer in the white shade on a really small eye brush and placing that right on the innermost corner of my eye and blending it out with my finger to use as a base for the inner corner highlight shadow we're about to place right over top of it, which is going to be a NYX single shadow in a really bright yellow color. I'm going to load up my brush with that shade and then just pop it right on top of the concealer. Then I'm going to bring that yellow shade that's left over on the brush out to the outer corners of the eyes to blend it into where my contour is. Then taking the same NYX Blue Liquid Lipstick, I'm going to place that directly below my eye and blend it out with my finger. And I'm going to be using this as an eyeshadow base again to do the lower lash line. Taking the Urban Decay Electric palette in the neon shade, the same blending brush we used the yellow for, I'm going to run that all across the liquid lipstick that I put underneath my lashes as a shadow base, connecting it to the outer corner of the eye where the top eyeshadow is so that it all blends together. Then going in with the MAC shadow, the dark forest green shade, and a flat wide brush, I'm going to press it into the bristles so there's no fallout, and then I'm going to use the same motion to press it into the lower lash line right up close to my lashes. And even closer to my lash line, I'm going to be placing the super dark forest green shade from the Morphe Cosmetics Jaclyn Hill palette. Then taking a angled liner brush with the NYX Blue Liquid Lipstick, I'm going to be using this to do my eyebrows. I'm just going to be covering and filling in the shape that's already there with my brows. And I'm not going to go too in depth on how I'm doing my eyebrows because I'm going to be filming a separate tutorial later. Then taking the blue shade from the Urban Decay Electric palette, I'm just going to go over top of the liquid lipstick and set it. Then taking the Kat Von D Metal Matte palette and the really, really deep blue shade, I'm just going to use that to define the tail of my brow and to make sure that those two blue shades blend together well. Just doing the same thing to the other eyebrow. Then I'm going to take the highlight from the e.l.f. quad that I was using earlier on a Real Techniques under eye setting brush, and I'm going to put that on the tops of my cheekbones, across the bridge of my nose, tip of my nose, and along my cupid's bow as well. Then once that's done, I'm going to take the light eyeshadow shades that I use in the inner corner of my eye, as well on the highlighting brush, and I'm just going to put those right on the peak of my cheekbones to make the highlight extra intense since this is a festival look. I'm also going to take that same shadow and just put it on my collarbones and on my shoulders. This looks really nice in photos and in the sun. Then I'm just going to pick up this pressed powder on a sponge to cut underneath my contour to make sure it's nice and defined. And then with a MAC dark teal liquid lipstick, I'm just going to put that all over my lips, making sure the edges are nice and crisp. Then I'm taking this gem I got at the craft store and using a little bit of the Duo Brush On Eyelash Adhesive, sticking that right in between the flash tattoos. With my L'Oreal Black Liquid Liner, I'm going to create a line across my lid and then a wing extending outward. Then I'm going to go ahead and take my lashes and pop on some lash glue and let them dry for a minute. And while those dry, I'm going to take the Lancôme Monsieur Big Mascara. I'm going to go ahead and coat my top and bottom lashes. And once it's had time to dry, I'm going to go ahead and pop on both of my lashes. Once those are on, I'm going to go back into the Morphe Brushes palette and use that gold shade on my finger and press it right into the center of my lips to create kind of an ombre metallic lip effect. Then I'm taking another flash tattoo and applying it the same way I did with all the other ones, right across the bridge of my nose. Then I'm going back in with my black eyeliner and going over the lash line to make sure that none of the glue can be seen. Then I'm going in with this green glitter, placing a upside down triangle underneath my eye with eyelash glue, and then pressing the glitter in with my finger over top of the eyelash glue to create glitter tears. Once that green shade's done, I'm going to go ahead and take a gold shade by Ben Nye and then some chunky glitter, just layering it the same way, this time using a Q-tip instead of my finger, just lash glue and glitter over top. Then I'm just taking another dual fiber brush and brushing away any excess glitter that's sticking on my face, applying the chunky glitter the same way. Once that's done, I'm going to take that black liquid liner and just start drawing various dots on the outer corner of my eye, mimicking whatever I did on one side on the other side. Started out with doing them in sets of 3s, going down underneath my wing, and then going along the left side of my glitter tier. Then I'm just fixing the little black dots on where the flash tattoo didn't stick to my face. Then I'm taking the black liner and drawing little lines above the front of my brows. Then going in with the NYX white liquid liner, I'm going to variously place dots all over the inner corner of my eyes, going down to where the glitter tier meets the bridge of my nose. And then I'm taking my finger and pressing into them and using it almost as a stamp so that I get the liner onto my fingers and then I can use it to place it in other places. So just going back and forth with the liquid liner and my finger. Then I'm also using the white liner to draw white little lines extending out from my eye in between where I put the black dots earlier. Then drawing a line right over the bridge of my nose above where I placed the gold flash tattoo. Then in between where I added the white dots, I'm going to be adding black dots using the same method, just pressing it on with the liner brush and then using my finger to stamp it down other places. Then I'm drawing black lines parallel to where I drew the white lines out on the outer corners of my eyes. Just adding more dots underneath on the outer corner of my eye. You can really add dots wherever you want. The look is pretty abstract. Then I'm thickening the black lines in between the white ones so that they stand out more. Then I'm adding a black line right above that white line on the bridge of my nose, just making sure it is as parallel and even as I can possibly get. Once that's complete, I'm going to be drawing little black dots above my eyebrows, and I realized that the brush was too small for me to want to get the size dots I wanted. So I took the end of one of my mermaid brushes and painted on the black eyeliner into the tip because it was circular, and I used it as a stamp so that I could place the black dots where I wanted them and they would come out even and symmetrical. You could also do this method by cutting off the end of a Q-tip. Then taking a flat synthetic brush, I'm going to spray it with a little bit of water, and I am going to crush up some blue eyeshadow and dump it on top of a lighter blue body paint, spraying it with water, mixing it together, and taking that teal shade that I created and painting straight lines upward parallel to the gem that's glued on my forehead, extending outward above my eyebrows. These lines can go in any which way you want. I'm just kind of doing them in the shape of kind of like a firework almost. And then I'm taking the same body paint and drawing a line parallel to the tail of my eyebrow right above it. Then on my chest above the mandala flash tattoo, I'm taking the same paint mixture and flicking my brush outwards, creating petal-like shapes. Then I'm taking the same brush with a little bit of leftover body paint and a dark green eyeshadow from the NYX Ultimate palette. And the shadow is going to diffuse the paint a little bit and make the lines softer. And I'm just going in between the ones I already drew on my forehead and flicking my brush outward to create more lines. A lot of these lines are going to be covered up later with glitter, so you don't have to worry about how perfect the bottom of them looks right next to the gem in the center of your forehead. Then I'm taking another gem with lash glue and placing it in between the two flash tattoos on my chest. Then going back in with my NYX white eyeliner, I'm going to be drawing the same lines going outward just in between the ones I've already created, just adding highlights to the shape that I've made on my chest. Using my finger to drag them outward so they have a little bit of fade at the end and they're not so harsh. Just doing the same thing on the other side. Then I'm going to fill in the space between my eyebrow and that teal line that we drew earlier with the white liner. And doing the same thing on my forehead I did on my chest, just highlighting in between the green lines that we've painted. I ran out of white liner, so I went in with my white body paint just to finish the other side and to make the white lines that I had already done more opaque. Then I'm going in with my black liner and creating lines between the black, the green, and the white, and just alternating between the different colors so that it has a natural flow and it goes from dark to light. Just taking the liner brush and flicking it upward and outward. Then over top of the green paint, right next to where the gem is, I'm going to apply the same lash adhesive. And I'm going to use the same glitters that I used for my glitter tiers in the same order. So lash glue, green glitter, gold glitter, and then chunky glitter on top. And then I'm doing the same thing on my chest right next to the flash tattoos with the same sequence of glitters, just fading it outward with my finger, making sure that it doesn't go from straight glitter to paint and that it has a nice seamless finish to it. Just adding the chunky glitter now. Sometimes you need to use a little bit more glitter glue to get these to stick. Just pressing those in with my finger, making sure they go all the way down to meet my eyebrow. And this is the finished eye look. Just going in and completing the chest. And that's it, you guys. That's the completed look. I hope you guys like it. And please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.